Hey, you, come here. I got a little secret for you. Just between you and I, it's about this Scorpio eclipse, this new moon eclipse that's going on. You've probably seen a bunch of things on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, the catastrophizing and the panicking about this South Node eclipse. And everybody's tripping, thinking the worst. But I'll tell you a secret, my friend. Between you and I, it's not about that. It's about inner growth and regeneration. And if you stick with me here on this video, I'll give you tips for the Scorpio part of your chart for every single rising sign and a little bit more. So, come closer and we'll do this. What's up, y'all? My name is Sparkles of Gold, aka Nicholas Polimenakos. This video is about the solar eclipse in Scorpio that's happening, new moon eclipse on October 25th in the wee hours of the morning in many places, at least here in the West Coast, in East Coast, but wherever you are in the world, I got my version of what's going on here, and we're going to do it up. If you like what I'm doing, hit the subscribe button, please. Support a brother. I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers. I'm feeling it. But let's jump right into this. And you got this chart right here. You see this chart? And that is a new moon. Whenever you see the moon and the sun together like that, that is a new moon. And when the moon is before, like here you see 2 degrees. Let's say the moon was at 1. That is balsamic and waxing toward the new moon. Anyway, a little tidbit, a little lunar cycle tidbit. But what you have here is the sun and moon together, new moon, and Venus is involved in Scorpio too. So it's about relationships in a sense, but hey, it's been the story all year. And we look at the nodes right here. We look at the South Node in Scorpio and the North Node in Taurus. Scorpio ruled by Mars, which is Mars here in Gemini, and the North Node in Taurus ruled by the sultry, mysterious, but armored up Venus and Scorpio. Can't get all the way in there. She wants that, but who the hell are you? What do you want with that? That Scorpio vibe of protection, of suspicion, of investigative quality, but really of depth. And this is what this eclipse and this lunation is really all about, is wherever you have Scorpio in your chart, it's about going deep, going down, and hanging out there for a while, and mucking around in those dark areas and finding the sparkle of gold. It's a process. It can come across in a harsh way, but if you understand and you're not naive and blinded to the dark journey you make through the Scorpio part of your chart, then you get to a place where it's about regeneration and rebirth and bringing that divine light wherever the Scorpio part of your chart is, that's deep within the muck, and eventually encountering it, accepting it, and then taking the journey on to bringing it outward from your body into this world. That's a long journey, but you can do it. So that's all you're going to get from me with the chart. I will say that Mars, being the ruler of this eclipse in Gemini, is about to go retrograde on October 30th. So it's slowing to a halt here. And so not only that, Mars is making a tough, challenging relationship with Neptune in Pisces. And it will be like that during the whole retrograde cycle until Mars starts to move forward in January. The next month especially, though, this Mars in Gemini, the ruler of this eclipse and this new moon, Mars wants to take action and initiate and push, and it's about to go retrograde on the 30th, and it won't be able to do what it likes to do at the pace that it likes in mental, mercurial, Hermes, Gemini, which has to do with the mind and things that go from point A to point B, the messages, the ideas, the thoughts, opinions, what formulates there. And Mars is making a hard aspect to Neptune and Pisces, not just now, but next month especially, but it just is in the background for the next several months. The next month is intense. Neptune likes to dissolve and put illusions onto whatever it's touching, and it's touching this pushing of ideas and multiple types of mind fucks and mind interactions. And then you have Neptune throwing a fantasy, not real quality. And you can see how the disinformation campaign will begin in the Gemini part of your chart. And so you can understand here that's ruling this eclipse, this depth. And so it's a story and it's a long run. But remember the secret that we have: regeneration, diving within, mucking around, clearing out, letting go of the muck to get to that divine sparkle. And that divine sparkle is your regeneration. So if you made it this long, I'm going to get out of this thing. I'm going to jump right into what it means for each rising sign. I'm not going to spend too long on a chart here because I know some of you just want me to do this, and I'll do it. So if you do not know your rising sign, you can always hit me up. There's a link in the bio here. You can go and ask for your chart. I'll tell you what is for free. But I'm going to start with the Aries and go down. My Aries risings. This is all about what they call the 8th house in your chart. This is kind of an interesting, mysterious place actually, but I'll put it straightforward to you. You're going to see the word death and taxes on the traditional level here, okay? And so there's a regeneration possibly happening here, but first there's some toughness going on with the rebirth part and having to sift through and go in and sit with what's rotting and not working anymore. More scorpionic energy I'm talking about in this part of your chart. So yeah, you could think about other people's resources, death and taxes, but this also has to do with intimacy. And really in the end, it's about what you fear. And so if you notice that thing in your chest, Aries rising, that feeling that's surging through your blood, and you being ruled by Mars are deeply affected by this eclipse and the Mars and Gemini transit, you could see how you can get scattered and your energies they have to be refocused. So go within in that area of your chart. Again, the 8th house, other people's resources, the occult matters. That's a great way to deal with this. The thinning of the veil, going within, using occult modalities, whether it's tarot, astrology, whatever, to help you get into that deeper place within yourself and conquer your fears. That's for you, Aries rising. Next, we're just going to bust into Taurus rising. Listen, this is all about relationships. It's happening in your relationship house, which is the 7th house. You want to be able to go within and see what your place is in relationships and how you function in relationships. You're going to have that mirrored by other people, your partners, your intimate partners, people you relate to, your marriage, whatever. It also deals with business partnerships, all types of things. Sometimes there's an old school mentality of hidden enemies that has to do with this, and that could be involved here. But for you, Taurus rising, you being Venus ruled and Venus being in Scorpio during this lunation, I want you to go deep, and I want you to look at yourself and see what you're worth to yourself, to the rest of the world, to the people closest to you, and gut check yourself and remember and tell yourself of what value and worth that you have, and stay there and create healthy boundaries for yourself in this area. A lot of times you're going to see something like relationships end with an eclipse happening there, and that's definitely a possibility. But I'm going to say it could be an end of a chapter. It's not necessarily end of a relationship, but it's end of a chapter. But you have to have trust and faith in this regeneration process to see what any kind of relationship takes you, especially the ones that are under the table or on the table and under for review. You could always project and look at what the other person's doing. But take a step back during this eclipse and look at what you're doing for yourself and take care of it. Or I should say, take care of yourself, Taurus rising. My Gemini risings, this is happening in your 6th house. You got to check your health out. You got to deal with, this traditionally deals with the house of illness. There's old school ways of dealing with this house, but I'm going to tell you about your regimen and injury, or how you deal with something like, do you have a nagging injury? Do you have a nagging spiritual injury? I also want you to look at like how you do your service in the world to yourself or at home or with other people. Are you giving too much? Are you too scattered there? Again, Mars and Gemini ruling this eclipse, I could see scatteredness, a dissolvement, too many things going on in too many places. And you're already Gemini Rising probably do that too. It's already messed up. So you need to corral everything together, look at yourself as a system and parts of a system, and use your breath and get back into your body and make tweaks to the system. Inherently, on a deeper level, if we're going to talk about the regeneration part of all this, it's not just about what happens in your mind, but what happens in your mind filters down into your body. And things are off, or you don't feel like you have enough chi or energy or the scatteredness, a good way to do with this is actually dealing with your physical body and getting into it, bringing in some physical techniques like stretching, yoga, plain walking and breathing, so on and so forth. But I don't want to freak you out and say illness, but this house has to do with it. You can, this on side note, sixth house has to do with pets. You could have an interesting situation going on with a pet right now, Gemini Rising, because of this. All right, let's go to the next one. We're going to go to Cancer Rising. Fifth house has to do with creative output, creative expression, love, and children. Okay, those are one ways of looking at this. So if you're having this eclipse going on in there, and it seems like the tide is getting pulled out, an energy suck is happening, is you need to go within those areas and look to see what has gotten in your way of creatively expressing. And sometimes this fifth house actually has to do with having too much fun and too much pleasure. I know it sounds weird, like I want you to Cancer Rising to have some fun, but it's sometimes when you go too far, then the muck happens and it starts to actually be a detriment in your world, and it's poisonous. So the Scorpio eclipse is asking you to go within and to parse that stuff out, to figure that stuff out, and what's not working anymore, what has become stagnant and rotting, for you to purge, so you can find that a new place of regeneration in the fifth house of your chart, so you can kind of start over. Go slow. Cancer Rising, you rule by the moon, so this can go all over the place in the next month. This is a new moon in Scorpio. You have a water affinity with the Scorpio planets, but since there is an aloofness involved here, you don't want to make quick emotional decisions. Hell, that's for every single one of you, actually. But you don't want to make quick emotional decisions, and you don't want to go too far in your pleasure-seeking ways. So you want to take a step back, and you want to regenerate slowly. Leo Risings. Oh, my Leo Rising. Love you. I mean, it's fourth house of home, the past. Traditionally, it's the father. Again, what we're dealing with here in the bottom of the chart always, and this is for anybody, but for Leo Risings, this has to do with your roots and foundations. And now you're going into an inward eclipse where the light gets taken out, the sunlight gets taken out, and that can be very difficult because it brings shadow and the darkness arises. And you're doing that in the roots and foundations and past of your chart. It could deal with family, it can actually deal with the roots and foundations of the apartment or the home that you live in. It can be representative that way. It can deal with your parental figure like your father. Most importantly, it's you have to see how your emotional content is dealing with the past and memories and family, and there'll be issues coming up here. And let me say that this is connected to 6 months ago, and even 6 months ago before then. So you can look at the end of April until the end, in the middle of May, for a clue on this, for this story that's been going on. But just to keep it easy, quick, listen, I want to make sure that you eat and you have warm food in your belly, and make sure you're in a safe, comfy place when you're dealing and surfing these old memories and things that have to do with your family that can bring up some intense stuff. Then, with a full belly and a warm heart that you have, my Leo Risings, you can get through that point and find that sparkle and that regeneration place. Virgo Risings. This is an interesting eclipse for you, because it has to do with something that you have an affinity for, which is the mind processing power, how you start, the initial place of starting to acquire knowledge. This also has to do with siblings and what's immediately around you, and they say short journeys, things like that. But I want you to think. This actually really has to do with you thinking, and the overthinking that can happen, and what has become toxic in maybe your thinking processes. And just like the Gemini risings, you're going to have there's a story here that that needs to be purged, that some of the things in your mind that do not function anymore, and how you go about using your mind and acquiring information. So first of all, you want to give yourself a break, because you guys will guilt trip yourself and shame yourself until whenevers. And we've have enough of that, okay? When you're mucking around in the dark like here with an eclipse like this, you want to first of all tell yourself that it's okay for you to be there. It's okay to be around muck, okay? And not only that, you got a talent for cleaning up the muck and finding out what happens in the system in an engine where the parts aren't working anymore. You actually have a talent for finding out what needs to be replaced there with your mind. I'm going to suggest short walks around your house. I'm going to suggest things that clear your mind out. First and foremost, though, and last, I should say, is that it's all about your intelligence. So use it. All right. Libra Rising, second house. Money, 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 money. Resources, resources, resources. Assets, assets, assets. Money, 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 money. There could be a wiping out of cash, a feeling, an uncertainty that's happening here with the eclipse that has to do with your security and connection with resources and money. You might have to tame down your spending. We just had Venus in Libra. The birthdays happen in Libra. Mercury is in Libra, and it's about to switch over into Scorpio. Now it's about taming it down. And so you're going to have to look at how you, again, this could be happening from external places and sources where there's a money taking out, or a money blockage, or you're realizing you don't have enough, or you're in your mind panicking about not having the security with it. So in the end, take a look at what your most important possessions are and what they mean to you, and they're reflective of your self-worth and what you value. And that's the deeper story with all this, is money's representative of what you value. You basically go to work, you get a paycheck. That paycheck you use to pay the rent or bills, and you buy things with that paycheck. And that with that paycheck, you buy things that are representative of your hard work. So that's what I want you to evaluate here. That's what I want you to look at. I want you to look at that, and I want you to go through the muck there and figure out what does not work for you anymore. And I want you to get to that place that used to work, and I want you to let go, and I want you to surrender that. And then you'll find that sparkle there within that you can use to regenerate that part of your chart. You feel me? Look at me, Scorpio Rising. I know your story all too well, actually. This is probably hitting you the hardest besides Taurus Rising. You're so good. You're so good at living life on the edge. You're so good going all the way and all or nothing. But even that process and getting high off the intensity of that and doing whatever it takes to get to the edge, sometimes you step over situations, smash through things, get in power struggles to your own detriment and to the people that you love. This has to do with everything about you, yourself, your core, your vitality, and it could get wiped in an eclipse like this. And to be honest, 6 months ago during the eclipses that happened the end of April and May, you got a clue into being wiped, and 6 months before that. And this isn't over for you. 6 months later, we have one of the final chapters in this. So I don't have to question whether or not you can go deep or go within, because we looked to that as an example of your sign, Scorpio Rising. But there's something else to all this. There's something else, and there has to be a true looking at yourself and know what used to be powerful for you, you have to let go of. And you have to have true faith in that letting go process. Some Scorpios know this regeneration and shedding of skin situation. Others get stuck in a place where it's a false power. And eclipses like this on the South Node will expose you. And we know how intense it is to be exposed. for you Scorpio Risings, it's one of your biggest things is to have your guard up and to protect yourself, because deep down inside, you actually are a water sign, feels so intense, so intensely about things that you don't want to expose yourself. But this is exposing you, this eclipse. I need you to take care of your body, your vitality. I need you to look at your habits that mess with your body and vitality and get rid of them, purge, and make the true call to yourself. I love ya. I have your back. You need a session with me, Scorpio Risings? Scorpios, I'm talking to you right now because it's your birthdays. You hit me up. If you don't have enough cash, I will help you. We got a payment plan for you. I'm not doing this for all the other signs or the rising signs. I'm doing it for you because this eclipse is huge. Venus being there and what's about to happen in the next couple of weeks with the next eclipse, this story isn't over. Take the courage of Mars. Take patience with that. And do what you do best. Sagittarius Rising. This is 12th house, sorrow and grief, as they call it. I'll give you the modern interpretation of it. This had to do with rehabilitation. I basically want you to clean out your attic, your basement, the places in your house and your closets of things that do not work anymore, that's connected to your deep memory and psyche. That's your psychicness, that these ghosts that are around. And this is what this eclipse does, is going to bring weird things up in that area that might drive you a little mad, actually. And sometimes we deal with mental health issues in this part of the chart. So I want you to find some clarity there, but I literally want you to throw things out in the garbage. This house on a traditional level, we're dealing with like isolation too, and what happens there. But I think in isolated places, if you have the right container and the right tools, you can do the purging in your heart and in your mind, and that's reflective outside of you with possessions, with certain things you're holding on to. So I want you to take that approach. I want you to take, like you're going to a spiritual retreat, and it's like a quest, okay? Sag Rising, this is a quest for you, but you got some stuff to throw out, okay? And don't give me that happy-go-lucky positive stuff. I'm not saying to be positive all the time. Sometimes there's reality. Sometimes the optimism masks a tougher reality. And a Scorpio eclipse like this brings realness. So don't avoid the realness. Walk around in there. Clean out the attic. And then you get to soar. Capricorn Rising, it's about friends, alliances, hopes, and dreams, your community, and what you go on there. Could be having a little issue there going on this year and 6 months ago where it isn't flowing the way you like, Capricorn Rising. And I know your reputation's everything sometimes, or how you're seen and how you want to look pro and professional and how you want to be the authority on the subject. And then you're not feeling like you got the backup of friends in that area, or like the people that would step to you and help you out, like patrons, stuff like that. Here is like what your connection to is all that. How much investment have you put into that? Is it too much? Is it a false something that really doesn't have anything of worth? You need to explore this area of yourself. You need to see, maybe you got friends that aren't your friends. Maybe the community that you thought you were involved in has become entrenched. I don't know exactly what it is, but these are the key words that I gave you: friends, community, hope, dreams, in what those communities can do for your dreams. And there's a revamping and a regeneration that can happen here. But first things first, you got to let go of certain facets of this part of your chart that are not functioning, and they're probably ones that you don't want to let go of. But take some surrendering, and you don't have to do it immediately. We got another eclipse in 2 weeks is going to shine more light on this, but that's what's happening for you, mountain climber. Aquarius Rising. It's all about your rep. My air geniuses. It's all about your rep. This is an interesting thing for you because you've had Saturn in your first house testing you too for 2 years now. You got Saturn at gestation retrograde. It's moving forward, which is a great sign for you. So your vitality eventually in the next couple of months is going to start moving forward. But you also have the way your public status is and how you look, and it's of concern here. You know, are you too detached in the public status? Are you shining your light? Are you finding yourself alone, alienated for whatever reason? The Aquarius rising story a lot of times with the 10th house has to do some with in the public sphere being seen as unique and contributing, and at the same time the other side of it is alienation and being alone and not being seen. It's such a weird story the Aquarius people play out, but the 10th house is the highest point of the chart, what people see. So you're digging deep here with an eclipse happening there, and everybody might see this too. But I'm going to say that's okay, actually. I'm going to say that you show yourself whatever's going on, even the parts that are not working or is not working efficiently anymore. Because we know in the end, you could take things that are already running correctly, bring them to your scientific lab, and enhance them and bring them into a new space. And that is what you want to do with this 10th house, which is the Scorpio part of your chart. You want to take your fixed energy and go within, but like, don't get cold about it. Don't just stay in your mind. Get into the root of your heart. Get into those first, second, and third chakras of your body and pull that emotion out from within and bring it up through your body and purge it and show it. That's a risk, isn't it? That's a risk. But people will see that, and they will see that part of your public face. And you would be surprised down the line, months from here, after Saturn leaves Aquarius and goes into Pisces in March, who has your back and who notices that public status, public face, and your reputation will change for the better. Pisces rising, in the end, this eclipse, I think, has a certain particular flow for you. I'm not trying to think completely negative about all this shit, but it's like, I want you to be, you already can be spiritual and be woo, or your connection to the divine, but I really want you to concentrate and bring in boundaries into this part of your chart, your 9th house, the scorpionic part of your chart here. And this eclipse is asking you to deal with wishy-washy boundaries and things that do not flow per se in the way you go about seeking higher truth and higher knowledge. In the end, this place has to do with faith and religion and spirituality and the higher quest of life. And you know what? It initially, at first, a Scorpio eclipse like this is like the tide going out and the energy that gets sucked out, and it could feel like the weight or what's beneath you or what a truth was for you is sucked out of you, and is like a brutal revelation of like it does not function in what I consider my code and ethics, my higher truth. And so that's a revealing moment with an eclipse like this. And you still have a journey till next year with this. But this is a key moment, because if you can understand that things always change, which you're so good at because you're mutable, Pisces rising, you could deal with this. You could change, but you want to bring in structure. You want to bring in a container in this area of your chart. And the first way to do it is to use the scorpionic powers of being fearless. And also just surrendering and letting go into what rebirth process is, what a regenerative story or moment is. In the end, you want to go within, clear it out, and start the process of bringing it out. So for everybody else who made it this long to the video, what I really want to say to you is, don't be naive with this. Confront the Scorpio part of your chart with yourself. Get to a place of going within and mucking around and finding those shadowy parts and actually embracing them and then letting them go through process. It's not going to happen in a day. It's going to take a little bit. But once you do something like that, then there's a divine presence hidden in through all that you can take and manifest outwardly to the world. And that's what really a South Node eclipse or just South Node story is really all about, is going through that process first of letting go and surrendering, so you can get to that something else that's waiting for you. And if you're aware of this and you know that that's part of the process, then it's so much a hindrance that there are goodbyes involved, but it's not goodbye forever. It's just a goodbye to a certain facet or aspect of that part of your chart. So that's why I'm saying the catastrophizing, the saying this is a horrible transit, so on and so forth. Some people are going to have it horrible. Other people's going to be great. But I don't want to take the mindset of something like this and saying it's horrible for relationships and etc. etc. No, it's about a journey, about being real with yourself, and about in a sense, especially the next month, going really easy with things because of a Mars Neptune square. So what is real, what is not? There's a lot of things hanging up in the air. So that's why you want to take a slower go and process. It's really easy to feel things on an emotional end, especially with the transits going on and with another eclipse in 2 weeks. But you want to keep your bearings together. And when it doesn't seem right, you want to go back to your home base. You want to go back to the Scorpio part of your chart. And you actually can even, and here's a secret tip. This is my secret tip for this video. Another extra ending one. In the end, if you need a backup place in all of this, you want to go to the Aquarius part of your chart and work with Saturn there. Saturn and Mars are vibing by air sign. Doesn't matter the degree, but if you need a place to hold on to, a rock to grab onto, go to the Aquarius part of your chart the next couple months. And not only that, I did a video on Saturn and Aquarius, and I'll put up the link right here. Thanks for this one-on-one. I'll see you on the next video.